Partnerships are vital to our global outreach, enabling us to take the love and hope of Jesus Christ to those who need it most. Our Boots on the Ground Partnership Program physically ministers to those in desperate situations all over the world. The Israel Partnership furthers Kim's legacy of outreach to Israel and Jewish people worldwide. We invite you to become a partner today. Join us today and be part of a community that inspires hope, brings restoration to life, and often healing from the past. Together, we can make a difference, and we thank you for your ongoing support.
Welcome to Real Life, Real Faith, where we are discussing real topics and doing our very best to approach them from a biblical perspective. Today, I am joined, as always, by Christy and Pastor Fa, and we are going to jump in with the topic, why do I feel hopeless? Pastor Fa.
Why do I feel hopeless? Well, there's no greater feeling in the world than to meet the Creator personally, one-on-one, and fall in love with Him, experience His love for us, and then fall in love with Him in turn. But even as a believer, we certainly can have, there's times in our lives where we can clearly feel hopeless. You know, Hebrews 11:10 says, "For He looked for a city whose foundations, whose builder and maker is God. For He was looking forward to the city that has foundations, whose designer and builder is God." So I think for me, it's just a matter of what I'm focusing on. And 1 John chapter 2 says, "For the world offers only a craving for physical pleasure, a craving for everything we see, and pride in our achievements and possessions. These are not from the Father, but they are from this world, and this world is fading away, along with everything that people crave. But anyone who does what pleases God will live forever." We were just talking at lunch about sort of the irony of pain. I run from pain, but yet it seems like pain is what brings gain in my life. It's a little bit of a cliche, but it's not cliche, it's true. But yet, nevertheless, no matter how well I understand that principle, I'm constantly wanting to run from pain. And I think hopelessness in my life will come when I'm starting to look at mainly three things, and that is power, people, and possession. And it's hard not to see those things because we're surrounded by it. You know, Jesus said the thief comes to steal, kill, and destroy. And so Jerry Seville just went to heaven, the canoe. He's known for the canoe, where he has this analogy where life is like swimming upstream against the current of the world, and he's in the canoe, and he gets it halfway turned around, and then that current just pushes him over, and it's just this fight that we're trying to go in the right direction with God, but everything's coming at us. Well, the world's not greater than God, but we realize if we have our eyes on the Lord and just really press in, and that's a constant thing, it's called work, that we can it's not our works, but it's God does require that we put forth effort, and that effort pays off well, because when we hope is like a blueprint, and if I keep my eyes on the vision, then I'm going to get there. So it's possible to have the fullness of God in your life and still sometimes feel a little hopeless. What do you think, Bree?
I feel like being in a hopeless mindset, just speaking from, this is the area that I've really tried to grow in, like this is my personal growth moment, is whenever you said you look at three things, and I feel like I am personally triggered by a few things that cause me to feel hopeless. So if it's a situation where I don't have control in the outcome of something with my children, that's like a trigger for me. Like I just feel like I'm hopeless. Like I don't have that. If it's like a scenario where there's zero money, that you're hopeless. And I feel like where I have struggled personally is when I do feel hopeless, it's like I get tunnel vision on that issue. And then it makes where like everything else in life is horrible too. And it's just like this snowball effect instead of like pulling a Peter, and switching the tunnel vision and keeping it on Jesus, on heaven, on the kingdom. And that is it's easier said than done, because I can easily say, just keep your focus on Jesus.
Yeah.
It's all gonna be all right. But at the end of the day, it is hard because those are like real life situations that pull at people's heartstrings. Like money might pull at your heartstrings and something else might pull that doesn't match yours. And I feel like everyone's version of hopelessness is different. And I feel like it's very hard to switch the lens off of the situation and onto the fixer. And I feel like that's what I'm personally trying to grow in, is not be also like, don't misstep in my moment of hopelessness too. And because the question is, why do I feel? Because you're human. That's how I feel. I feel like everyone is going to go through a moment of hopelessness. But it's like what I'm trying to conquer is to not have tunnel vision on an issue and truly trust the fixer. And I think that is, honestly, it's easier said than done, but it is possible. And I'm working on that myself every day to get there, for sure.
What are you thinking?
I think this is the reality. I think there's so many valid reasons for feeling hopeless.
Yeah.
It's easy to look around in the United States right now and go, well, life was better 4 years ago.
Yep.
We paid less for food, and we paid less for gas, and we paid less for rent. And we can look around and, maybe you've lost someone you love. Grief is a very real and valid reason for feeling hopeless. There's actually a multitude of reasons that are valid, but it is an emotion. And even if there's a situation that appears to back up and validate that emotion, we have to live in a truth that is greater than our senses. And I'm saying that as somebody who has struggled with depression, somebody who's struggled with very high anxiety, and a lot of it comes down to feeling out of control of situations, feeling like I don't see a way out of this.
Yeah.
And the reason that I'm so passionate about the Old Testament is because the whole story is basically just, this impossible thing is going on, look at what God did. That's pretty much the whole thing. And then, king after king after king who did the wrong thing, and you think, geez, guys, when are you going to get the picture here? But, I look at these various stories in Scripture, and I don't see them as stories. I know they're factual, and I know that they happened. But whether you're looking at God bringing the Israelites out of Egypt and the way he parted the Red Sea, them facing the Red Sea was impossible. I understand why the Israelites in that moment felt hopeless. What are we supposed to do? There's an Egyptian army coming with their horses and their chariots behind us, and there's a sea in front of us. What are we supposed to do? But God comes through, he does a miracle, they cross over, the sea closes, and then they start their journey into the promised land. You can look at the account of the widow that had nothing left. And the prophet says to her, go and bake me a loaf of bread and then you will be provided for. That was a hopeless situation. There was a famine in Israel. There was no way out of it, but God made a way. Whether you look at the account of, the lepers in the book of 2 Kings, where the prophet again said, tomorrow around this time, Kim used to sing that song, tomorrow about this time, things are going to change, based on that account. And he said, from people paying a fortune for a donkey's head, people eating their children because they were so hungry. There was nothing in Israel. But God did a miracle, and 4 lepers went shuffling over to the Aramean camp, and the Arameans heard the sound of 4 lepers' feet and thought it was an army coming to besiege them. And then what happened is the lepers ate and they took stuff and hid some stuff and then said, we should probably go tell the king about this. And suddenly the whole nation of Israel was provided for. Whether you look at Elijah looking up and rolling up his cloak and hitting a river and it opening. Or you look at the Israelites with Joshua crossing over the Jordan River, and the priests, the river wasn't already gone. They had to step into it. They were carrying the Ark of the Covenant, and as they stepped into the river, that was the impossible situation, where again, I can just imagine the whole nation of Israel thinking, great, here we are again, what are we supposed to do? But the river starts to part, the people get across. Whether you look at the city, Jericho, fortified, the walls were so big they'd have chariot races on top of them. And Joshua's fabulous solution was, we're going to shout. And they shouted and the walls came down. And so I can imagine, we always look at the victory, we always look at the miracle, but I always try and imagine what the people would have been feeling, and maybe even the leaders would have been feeling before the miracle happened.
Yeah.
And we read all these accounts of miracle after miracle after miracle, but what isn't necessarily documented is the way everyone was feeling before then.
Yeah.
And so the reason that I read through these things so often and look at them so often is because there are so many times in life where hopelessness is there, and there's a reason for it. And sometimes I think what's more difficult is when there doesn't seem to be a reason, when we have what we need, when we've got the basic, our basic needs in life met, and we still feel that way. You were talking about it being a mindset. Dr. Caroline Leaf, who I love, has written a couple of amazing books, and her one in particular, she speaks about neuroplasticity, which is, she's a neuroscientist, and God actually put something in our brains. It's called neuroplasticity, and you have the ability to basically retrain your brain and regenerate, and from neurological pathways that are forged to be shifted. And it does take effort, and the difficulty of the loop of hopelessness is that you really struggle to find motivation to change.
Yeah.
But speaking as somebody who's gone through this myself, we spoke about our tongues being on fire a while back, and I think so often what happens is that when we feel hopeless, we start talking around that topic. And I'm not saying you shouldn't confide in someone.
Right.
I'm not saying you shouldn't say to somebody, hey, I'm struggling, can you help me? But we have to also foster in an environment for ourselves that opens the pathway to be able to trust God for the miracle to come. And even if the miracle takes time.
Yeah.
The Israelites were crying out to God for a very long time before they were delivered from Egypt, but he did it. And I look at the nation of Israel constantly as a marker of hope, because the fact that the Jews are still here is a complete impossibility.
That's right.
By human standards. But the God of Israel is the one who's preserved them, and he's our God too. And so that's the thing I kind of try and think about. And I've got these scriptures written out. I went through them, and I've got them on different topics. And one of them is on hope. And one of my favorite scriptures is in the book of Zechariah, and it says, return to your fortress, prisoners of hope. Even now I announce to you that I will restore to you twice as much. And I love the imagery of being a prisoner of hope, meaning we can't escape the hope of God because it's our foundation. And so I'm not saying that to you just out of some textbook. I'm saying that to you as somebody who has struggled through the swamps of hopelessness so many times. And my biggest one definitely was losing Kim. I can tell you with honesty, I lost all hope, all motivation, all drive. I thought in my I was 30 when it happened, maybe 29, 30, somewhere around there. I was 30, I think, when he got sick, maybe 29, somewhere around there. And I really did think that my life was over. I thought, that's it, I'm done. I've had my good days. The good days are now behind me, and now I just have to struggle through and, wait for the trumpet to blow kind of thing. But this is coming from somebody who really, it's very easy in my life, unfortunately, for me to fall into a negative mindset and then into a negative speech pattern.
Yeah.
And so those are things that I've actively tried to combat. I have a little journal, and I try and write down the things that I'm grateful for and try and remind myself of the miracles I've seen happen in my own life and the lives of people that I know, and then looking at the scriptures as well.
Yes. I love Colossians. It says that we increase with the increase of God. And I can feel hopeless, and I'll just go out, and I don't like pulling weeds, but I have to because I have a yard. So I'll go out there and pull a weed, and I'm not thinking about my problems or anything. I'm just focusing on these weeds. And what I love is that God is always on the increase in our lives. God is positive. The gospel is good news. And I'm pulling a weed, and all of a sudden, he shows up. And it's like, a minute ago, I just felt hopeless, but it's like the minute, I'm aware that he's present, And when he knocks on the door, he's always got something nice to say. Even if it's a rebuke, it's going to help me. It's going to turn me in the right direction. And what I'm trying to say is that we're not just trying to work this up. You know, it's like God, he's always on. And when we can have just a moment where we forget about ourselves for just a moment, inevitably we always realize there he is. He's always wanting not just to knock on our heart's door, but he wants to come in. He wants to sup with us. So we're going to feel hopeless at times like we've all shared, but you know what? Abraham, contrary to hope, in hope believed, and so he became the father of many nations. He only wanted a kid, and God made him the father of nations, and it never stops. So, you know what? You can't lose in God, my friends. And we just pray right now that you'd be increased. We pray that your hope would be renewed and that God would just really open up our eyes to the beautiful things that he has prepared for us, Bree.
Well, thank you so much for joining us on Real Life, Real Faith. If you want to continue this discussion, make sure that you join us next week for another episode. If you'd like to support us through your gifts of love, make sure that you follow the link at the bottom of your screen. We are going to go into a moment of worship. We would invite you to stay with us and worship. And also, you will be able to see what's coming up on next week's episode. So make sure that you stay tuned, and we'll see you next week.
The fear of the Lord, it's the beginning of wisdom, the awe of God. And I need to kindle that fire and add some sticks to it every day, you know, and that doesn't mean there's something wrong with me. It just means that, you know, we got to keep the fire going.
In our culture can almost get angry that we're not seeing the level of miracle that we want to and not seeing the level of glory that we want to. But I think it's for our own protection.
Yeah.
Because if the weight of the glory of God was here in churches the way it was in the early days, I don't know how many of us would still be standing.
No one else will be able to love you, correct you, guide you, all in the same, like God. And that's what makes the reverence required.
Your word is a lamp to my feet. I'll follow wherever you lead. You're the way, the truth, the life, now and always. Your spirit is lighting my path. I'll follow, there's no turning back. You're the way, the truth, the life, now and always. Oh, now and always. You have my surrender, Lord. And if it's the wilderness, I know you're through it. And if it's the promised land, you've led me to it. You invite me to journey with you, and I say yes, forever yes. Your word is a lamp to my feet. I'll follow wherever you lead. You're the way, the truth, the life, now and always. Your spirit is lighting my path. I'll follow, there's no turning back. You're the way, the truth, the life, now and always. By day or fire by night, either way you're by my side. Jehovah never fails, Jehovah never fails. Wilderness or promised land, either way I'm in your hand. Jehovah never fails, Jehovah never fails. Cloud by day or fire by night, either way or by my side. Say, and Jehovah never fails. And Jehovah, come on with faith, declare. In wilderness or promised land, either way I'm in your hands. Jehovah never fails. Your word is a lamp to my feet. I'll follow wherever you lead. You're the way, the truth, the life, both now and always. Your spirit is lighting my path. I'll follow, there's no turning back. You're the way, the truth, the life, oh now and always. Your word is a lamp to my feet. I'll follow wherever you lead. The way, the truth, the life, now and always. Your spirit.
You ask and we listen. We're finally bringing the most requested offer ever. Get the queen size premium MyPillow, now only $19.98. MyPillow is made with patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. It helps keep your neck aligned and holds its shape all night long so you get the best sleep of your life. But that's not all. Get our 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. Our brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. Get our famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25 and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to get huge discounts on all MyPillow products, including the premium queen size MyPillow, only $19.98. That's the lowest price ever. Don't delay, order today. From all of us here at MyPillow, thanks America!
We here at the House of Destiny are partnering with you to let our viewers, of course, know about your company. It's Beverly Hills Precious Metal.
Andrew, explain how that works.
So I'll walk you through it right now. So if you go to bh-pm.com, right there on the homepage, you'll see a form that you could fill out. And that form is very important in letting us know how we can help you. So you just put in your first name, last name, email address, phone number. There's a section that says, how did you hear about us? And in there, put Kim Clement. And then there's a portion where you could write a couple of notes down on the bottom. Usually within about 24 to 48 hours, we'll contact you by phone call, and then we'll go over everything with you. This isn't a high pressure deal. We always recommend that if you feel uncomfortable, take a step back, pray about it. You will gain the answers that you need by doing that, and come back to us when you're comfortable.